Welcome, my name's Chris, and today I'm going to be listening to lots of types of music that I've never heard before and learning it by ear and showing you how to do that. Showing you my process, how I do this on a regular basis. This is usually how I learn tunes, is by ear and pretty quickly. I recommend you do these methods I'm going to teach you with actual music or, real artists. But these are great substitutes because I can actually play them for you. We can experience the audio together. I can tell you what to listen for, and we'll work on this process some, and I'll show you my process that keeps on refining over the years. It is really a skill that just goes on forever and a fluency you can develop and learn more and more music. I'm also going to be covering some of these things behind me. I got a little carried away and have a few points that I'm going to talk about. These things happen kind of all at the same time in many ways, but I'm going to be explaining these as we go along. The first one, context, I'll start off with here. It's all about context, and if you practice doing some of these things like thinking about music relatively, practicing a scale by ear, practicing chords contextually where you're tagging them with the information, leaning in more to the experiential feelings side of music or whatever it feels like to you. It's amazing how, again, this stuff just starts to become natural. Practice some of these things, even if you're a beginner. Try to feel into these things because you might find you have a better ear than you think. And we're trying to leverage any natural ability here that we can build on. And I truly do think anybody can get better at this, but it does take practice and a willingness to really become fluent. The rewards of that are incredible because you get to really play music in a much more natural way. Like yesterday, I had to play a concert at a school I worked at, very impromptu, some Christmas tunes, and I didn't know some of those tunes super well. I knew most of them, but I was using my ear. I was just like telling my ear, like, hey, I need your help here. Like, what's going on? And I was leveraging every time I've heard these tunes. It's a combination of all these things that allows me to play a lot of tunes, and I'm very grateful for that. It really is a thing you can build on, and you can reap the benefits of its fluency. And more genres of music, it might just be the same stuff or simple music, whatever it is, but you're feeling at a deeper level and you feel more involved and more one with the music. All right, so let's jump in here. I want to play some tunes for you. These are all royalty-free examples that I found on YouTube, and I've got them all open in different tabs. Many genres of music. Kind of ridiculous how many genres of music we have here. This first one is Bad Weather Blues. So it's a blues tune. I tried to start off with some more typical stuff. Let's figure out the key here. All right, so we immediately have sound. So we have melodic content happening. We have some stuff on the top. We're trying to distinguish that stuff from the harmonic bass powered stuff. The music is really, on a harmonic scale, always going to be powered by the bass going up. That's the context. It's like the first label you see or the first thing you feel, the first identification of something. So we're really trying to key into the bass, and that goes back to context, to practicing singing scales, to practice with a drone, practice this idea of relativity and of hearing the context of whatever one is against other notes, and what one feels like and what the other notes feel like, right? So when I listen to this, I immediately hear key, right? Hopefully you can hear, just assume there's a key happening and find one. One. I have half in ear phone off, so it's kind of hard to sing right now. But one. And then on my guitar, oh, we got lucky. Look at that. So hopefully you can hear that congruency, right? One with one. Now, how you find the key on an instrument takes a little practice, but it's totally doable. My advice is usually to go very slow, one note at a time in a bass register on your instrument. So I could go really nice and slow and pick any string really, but I could just go through and notice when it's like, okay, that sounds pretty good. Oh, that sounds like the root, right? And then some of these are going to sound terrible. So if I know what an E scale is on guitar, I'll eventually stumble on that if I can feel that home gravity of E. And you could do this on another. If I hit the A, that might have felt like 4. There's a lot of things here too, like assumptions. I just assume it's the 1 and the 4. 1. There we have the, what is that? On the top. We have this little... It's higher, right? But now I'm just going to listen a little bit here. Probably typical blues form. So if you know that, that's helpful. If you know the key of E, 1, 4, and 5, of course, this is where it starts, is just with one key. There's a 4. We also have this stuff on the top. All this melodic stuff going on. I think that's on the top there. I didn't do it there. The 4. And on the bottom, we have those bass notes that define everything above it, right? There's our 5, back to 1. You have that on top? That's 1 on top. So we can key into many different things here. I'm not going to do that example that much because that's a blues form. And I know blues form very well. And I've played blues in all 12 keys. Even blues in E, right? To really know blues in E. To know what's on bar 5 of the blues in E. To know what's on bar 9, right? That kind of level is really helpful. So knowing some normal chord progressions, 1, 4, 5, stuff like that, knowing a blues form, that stuff comes into play as one of the tools in the toolbox. I was using ear knowledge and history with Christmas tunes to play those tunes that I had not practiced, right? Telling my hands, it was just bypassing my brain. My brain was like, I don't know what the chords are. And my hands and my ears were like, we'll figure it out. Mainly my ears, right? And the history of that. It's really amazing how automatic this gets over time. Very much like a language. You just speak words, right? And you can just understand things and things continue to clarify. Okay, well, here's another tune. Let's try a much different genre of music. Happy folk guitar music, ideal for vlogs. So if you have a vlog, here we go. Okay, so we have hopefully a perceived key. Do you feel resolution? Do you feel tension? I feel resolution at the beginning of this. We'll listen a little bit. I feel one. Right, it's just a feeling to me. There's another chord, right? We hear the bass note of the guitar change, which is now our bass guitar. That's like the bass, the lowest thing so far, I think. Sounds like the same chord progression, right? And then we can start to fill out the key. This gets into numbers. We've already practiced where the center is, and this is all contextual. The vibe element is talking about starting to hear what kind of language we're being presented with harmonically and melodically. Is it bluesy? Is it jazzy? Is it really complex harmony, more dissonant harmony? Is it really clear harmony? Is it really like front and center like a power chord? Or is it like a little elusive like a jazz chord, right? Or a little dissonant, right? What kind of colors are we dealing with and what kind of intensity? And also culturally, what are we dealing with? Are we dealing with a blues form? There's all this history. If you play a lot of 90s country tunes, there's a form aspect to that you'll start to see. You'll start to really be able to feel the form of that kind of stuff and kind of sense where something's going often. And I figured out the key of that pretty quickly when I first heard it. I think I played a C right here. And against this felt like 2. So if this feels like 2, that makes that one of this, of the song, right? I'll do that again. So I think I played that. So that sounded like Re, Do, 2, 1. And now if I know that music is typically 1, 4, and 5, I've got this patterns I can immediately pull from. I know 1, 4, 5, and B flat. That's that key, right? But you do this. It might be, I bet you it's played here. The flat 7. 5. And this gets into guitar knowledge, like, right? That like probably does it, right? That little flat 7. You see how I'm trying to put myself experientially so quickly into this specific key on the guitar. That gets into numbers. You obviously have to be able to play some chords on your instrument. Learn 1, 4, and 5 in one key. Look up songs in that key. So learn C, F, G, or G, C, D, whatever. And then look up songs in the key of G, easy songs in the key of G. Practice ear training. You already know the right answer. It's just like the order. And then it's just a little bit of labor and failure on your part, but that equates to you immediately getting better at this. And I really think anybody can get better at this. To me, the more I teach, this is the thing I want to key into, because a bunch of rules or should or shouldn'ts about music is really not helpful. But if we can kind of key into some experiential part of chords that you like to play, songs you like to play, songs that really make you feel alive and connect to yourself, that kind of thing, to show expression. Don't do music in an obligatory way, which is maybe the worst way to play it. but play from a place of joy, place of curiosity too, right? Trying to hear chords. Like I'm always trying to stump my ear, and there is music that definitely stumps my ear. But this music I can really be fluent with pretty quickly. So, and I've played about this whole thing. It sounds pretty repetitive. Here's one more from this channel. This is chill acoustic folk guitar. I'm just going to do it real quick. See it? So that's an F. Probably here. That's like these kind of voicing. That's cool. Flat 3, 5. So I'm hearing this as 1, 4. Ooh, that same thing, right? 1, 4, just a little bit more firm. So we have had this key. Listen to the very beginning of this now to try to find that context. Try to get your voice involved. That's one of my other points. Audiation is just doing that in your head. So can I think about that in my head? You're on the top. And listen to the resolution. Where's the resolution happening? To me, we came back home, right? And it's not always the first chord. With input, like input of numbers, you start to get a good sense of what key you're in when you just hear music, in my experience. And also output, where you are practicing this with music that you don't know. You can think of output like that. Reading a number chart would also be good output of really working on this understanding, or using numbers to try to figure out what chords are happening in a key. I'm hearing that as 1, 4, flat 3. It's kind of a G to the 5. And I'm hearing also that key of E stuff on guitar, right? Which has a very specific vibe. I'll link one of the chord family videos below on my favorite ways to play some of these chords, the primary chords at least. Flat 3 was not a primary chord. That is outside of the key, right? That's not even not. Isn't that cool? Has some attitude, right? I love it. Okay, here's another example here. Let's go on. This is business corporate. This is the worst. Sorry, you're on hold now. So hopefully, do you feel 1? I think that first, I felt that as 1. We always assume the first thing we hear is 1. Always assume that. If you hear your car door open and it's a note, that's 1, right? And now that's 1 in your life until the key changes. So I played that. It was really, really dissonant, right? So eventually you can kind of hear that as flat 2 to 1. It's very, very dissonant, maybe the most dissonant interval. But we're in E, right? You feel the E is 1, 1, and now we have 1. 4, 6, 5. Easy peasy, right? How many times have we heard that progression in our life? I'm just immediately like, oh yeah, 1, 4, 6, 5. It's not just a pattern, it's a feeling. Like each one of them is a feeling. That's how I perceive it, at least. It's not like we need to take this home and look at the pattern and put it up on the wall and figure out what's going on. It's not that thought driven. It's more experiential, more perceptive. You just want to feel, oh yeah, 1, da da ba, 4, 6, the minor, feel the minor, 5, and that pairs into the sounds you'll recognize from the guitar if you play guitar in this case, and also pairs into the numbers. The more you tag stuff, the more you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 6, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Practice singing the bass, right? That's really good. Getting your voice involved. You see, all this stuff happens at the same time. And then we're just trying to find that feeling of home when we listen to audio. All right, here's another. This is, let's get out of corporate world. Here's Midnight Train. This is country melodic. So, okay, we kind of got bluegrass, and hopefully you can hear that bass down there. 1, bum, 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 1, 5, right? And then we have some melodic stuff on the top of that. So let's figure out where that 1 is. 1, if I just hit the first thing, open. That sounds like 2 to me. 1, 2, right? You feel it's not quite there. If I were to tune that down. Why not? I'll play this in drop D. Close enough for bluegrass. 1. Now I'm thinking 1, 4, 5 in D. 5. 1. Probably 4. 1, 5, 1. I just felt, yeah, that's a real kind of common kind of movement. Probably the same thing. 1, 4, and I'm just double checking now. 5, 1. Ooh, what was that? 6, flat 6. Isn't that cool? Just repeats. Back to the first part, and then we have all this stuff. Or stuff like that, right? So this is 5, 6, 1 in this key. That's the same 3 notes as You Make My Dreams Come True. And then also that's the bass line for Dancing in the Street. How it would do, it would be like, right? So that's how I'm able to do this so quickly, is I'm referencing all the music I've heard before. I'm just bringing it to mind, just this fluency, the language aspect of this, that I'm tying stuff together in my kind of private practicing. And then I'm practicing interfacing with music in this way, where I'm practicing finding the center, finding 1, practicing singing scales, practicing feeling the vibe. Is it major or minor? We've been mostly major here, right? Let's try another. So this is kind of more modern lo-fi kind of stuff. So, and every chord gives us away more and more. We have 1, although we're kind of out of tune, right? And we also, what kind of vibe do we have? I feel jazz. I feel lo-fi. I'm bringing all that stuff to mind. I'm thinking 1 major 7, 2 minor 7, 2 5 1. I think this is probably going to be 1 6 2 5. That's a really popular jazz progression. So that gets into knowing numbers, knowing some form stuff, right? Knowing the history of some of these things. The more you play and tag, the more you can think of this stuff. Let's jump in and see where we're at and what key too. 1, I'm guessing C. Yeah, 1, 6. Oops. There's 5. 1. You hear that on the top? The melody. 1, 2. And then then we have on the top 5, 4, 3, 2. There's 5. Right, and that all that melody stuff is just a different engine that is also happening with the context of the chords underneath. So that one sounds like it's going to be the same thing. Here's one more of this kind of style. Sounds like this might be 1. Maybe this is 4. Yeah, isn't that amazing? So there's something in the DNA of music and much of popular music that gives it away. Something, and I honestly don't always understand it. That could have been a major 1, but it hit me as a 4 to this, to like pretty major 7, a 1 chord. So we're in the key of E, right? And that means we're gonna have, it sounds like barely moving. It sounds kind of vibey. It's gonna repeat a lot, right? So all that stuff, I'm coming in with a lot of assumptions, which I think is helpful. All right, now on to a couple more examples before I need to go pick up my child. Here is a bossa nova tune. It's kind of the Brazilian. So I'm hearing 1, right? 1, 2, 3. Or if you're just trying that via your instrument, not your voice. But just practice. That sounds real dissonant, right? And I can feel that as flat too. This feels like 2. You just keep on going if you need to. Go slow. Really listen. That feels like 5, and now we're into some changes. But so we at the beginning of this, I felt this is flat 2, which would make this one E flat. I'm assuming that key of E flat. 1. There's 2, 5, 1. Same thing. 1. And then 2, 5 to the. Ooh. Yeah. I think dominant. Yeah. So I'm bringing a lot of jazz history now to this kind of tune. Really listening to the colors as they are often sound in a jazz context of the numbers. on a harmonic level and the melodic level, but all this stuff gets really automatic. So I'm thinking in the little deeper side of the pull there, I have to know how to do 2 to 5 to 1 and know some of these kind of landmarks where it might go. And that might get real weird and lose my ear. Here's a couple more examples. Upbeat indie funk. See what we got going on here. Okay. So I felt that was real off. By here, I was like, oh, this sounds like sharp 5. That sounds like 5. I felt the 5, which makes this 1. So C sharp, not a good key for guitar. Sounds like a down tune, does like a guitar bass. So it kind of sounds minor, right? Kind of is like too cool for major. So 1, 3, 4. Major 4, you hear that brightness. 4, 5, 6, 1. This is something interesting that happens in this kind of music is that you can kind of feel it like in the minor key and the major key at the same time, like C sharp minor and E major. And I'm kind of going between those, if that makes sense. Well, that's how the numbers have to kind of cooperate in that regard, because it does sound like this is the main key, but also I wouldn't be able to feel this stuff like 4, 1 and flat 6, flat 3. That's a little bit more abstract, right? Than 4, 1, 2, or flat 6, 3, 4, major 4, kind of Dorian, right? But I wouldn't even think about that. We're just trying to hear these colors and try to feel some of this movement. I'll do a couple more examples to wrap up this demonstration. I hope this has been helpful. I am trying to show you this process and how easy and automatic it can become. In the future, I will cover more on how to make a chart. If I had to perform this music very quickly at a high level, I would be making charts of all these, and I would use numbers, and I have my own kind of way of doing that. Usually everyone does, but having something that kind of represents all the form and the time and the chord changes. And I really enjoyed that as well, because it's a good way to think in numbers, a good way to practice being a professional musician, because you're really practicing how much detail can you give yourself in a short amount of time, using these intuitions that really enable you to be fluent here. I'll also link below a few YouTube videos I found to be helpful that are not mine on this topic, learning songs by ear and generally ear training, how to think of it. I always am happy as a teacher to see the message get out to more and more people that will really help your musical journey. Here's one called Free Flamenco Music for Videos, Arioso. If you can kind of hear that. And at the beginning of that, did you feel the tension? There's some extra notes in there, but I kind of feel at the end of that, I hear a major chord. So going through one at a time, we could figure out what chord this is. And if we can kind of hear this note, this kind of sounds good, but if, maybe it sounds like this, like an A, and it sounds like a there's some other stuff going on there in the middle of the chord, kind of this like kind of Spanish kind of dissonance, right? The flat 2 going into there. But that first chord hit me like a 5 chord. You feel that tension, and then we have the start of the tune with the melody. That is our D minor. D minor. Let's see where it goes. Ooh, flat 6. So again, we're thinking in a minor key. Flat 3, the relative major. 5 of the relative major. 4 of the relative major. Back to the minor 1. Right? Back to that B flat. F. And the melody and the chords go hand in hand together once you study this enough. They all kind of point to each other, being, there's that 5 again. Oh, there's like a new section. Different, it's quicker chords, right? 4, 5. Back to the relative minor. And then there's a 5 again. And then we're gonna go back. Whatever. I'm a little out of tune, but right, there's the flat 6, the 4, the 5. Really tune into the bass here. The bass is giving me 95% of the information. And then the other instrument should just ring with the bass. Think of it like that. There's a 5. There's a flat 6. Raising. There's a major 1, the home. 4, 5. Yeah, a little inversion. That's nice too. You hear that new color there? Listen to the bass. They're coming up here. That's nice, right? This I'd be thinking of. I kind of hear it. This is flat 7. This would be 6 in the key. Flat 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Right. So this is just a nice little in-between thing. Actually, one of the other songs we listened to did that. We're kind of mixing the major and minor here. We're thinking in the key of D minor, the key of F, and also sometimes a little chromatic stuff like this that kind of mixes D major along with D minor. So we just have to be flexible, right? And this is a very minor vibe. And of course, there's a lot of cultural history with this music that has done this kind of sound before. So I'm pulling from a lot of that too. Like this little, that progression's huge. Going to the F is big. Like there's so many expected things that are done here. And the more you study harmony, the more it feels like that, where you're just trying to kind of get into the song's head and try to feel where it's going based on prior experience. And the more tunes you play, the more you have this just intuition about how the song's going to go. It's really crazy. Like you can be playing with people and just hit stuff together and stop on a dime together. And you're like, I don't even know this person. Like I don't even know their name, but you'll just find yourself connecting a lot easier and it's super mysterious. A couple more. I got a disco tune. Why not? I thought it'd be fun. Just show all genres of music here. Whoa, big build up. Now, when we finally did get a key, I hope you can kind of feel and suss out what does that make you feel like? Just the vibe of this. That's kind of what I picked up immediately was vibe. And then a groove too, right? We had a drum beat right out of the gate. So I felt this vibe of kind of like cool. Kind of hear that as like a minor, right? It's kind of cool, right? It's not like this. It's not happy. It's just like a little bit more attitude, right? So, and I think, was that the key? I just randomly picked A, but I imagine this is A. I do not have perfect pitch, but this often happens where I just have this sense of like, that is an A, right? And immediately we have a melody right in our face. We have a bass line. Hopefully you can hear that. Doesn't sound like it's changed yet. And we have this little melody stuff above. And this is about a piece of language. This is how I am immediately recognizing this. I didn't really put this on the board. I guess it goes into fluency forever. Right? The more you study a language, the more you're aware of like different dialects and trends. And this melody is pentatonic. Let's see what it does. Let's see if I can read the melody's mind. Oh. You hear this other stuff? Hear the bass? Ooh. What a... So how these hit me is like root 3, 4, 5, 7, 1. Pentatonic scales, A minor in this example, have no half step in between any of the notes. So there's not quite as much of personality to each note. So I don't usually use the numbers as much. I just kind of feel it. But I do have landmarks of like 1 and 5 and 3. And 4 is a pretty important note too, right? So you start to add on, like before you know it, you have all 5 notes. Also flat 7, I associate with 1. Right? How many times have we heard that in music? Doing that action. And where you can just feel it, right? When a song starts off. Or goes like this. You probably hear in the A to me as, I mean, that's just my experience, right? But ask yourself, how does this make me feel? How can I optimize anything I'm feeling, any intuition I'm having, to hear music deeper, to recognize sounds. Again, a good way to test yourself here is just to limit yourself. So look up songs that you know there's only 2 or 3 chords in them. Try to figure out the chords by ear. Try to think in terms of keys. I'm thinking in this case, A minor. I've got this stuff. I recognize this little thing on top. There's a melody there. So 5, 7, 6, 5. And this kind of Dorian kind of, right, this like little like riff. There's a couple ways you'll hear it, right? There's different notes you can add. So that's a piece of language that I've just kind of kept in my pocket of minor Dorian kind of sounds. I've done this a lot in jazz tunes, and I just file it away, and it's not about A minor, it's just about a minor Dorian thing that's movable, right? I could try it and then move up some of these notes. And this would be, what would it be? In C minor, right? One other thing I love about this disco tune is that we call this a pedal. When there's just a lot of A, it's like the bassist might just be playing A the whole song, and with some like other riffs. But you can do ear training with pentatonic anywhere, right? Any rock song you hear, whatever, goes up, right? It's kind of more of the same, but it's kind of cool, right? Just to be able to hear these colors and to listen in just the right mode. Or we're not listening so hyper fixated on things. It's more about like, where's the main note? Does this remind me of other tunes? What other sounds have I heard like this? Can I pull from my experience with them to get better at this? So I've got 2 more here. I'm going to play both for you, and then I'll let you go. Hopefully this has been helpful. I could do this all night. I love this. In fact, if someone was like, you need to learn 30 songs by tomorrow, or 40 songs, or some ridiculous amount of tunes, and I had the day off tomorrow and I had lots of coffee, I would love that. I would just love that so much. I would be listening and making charts, and I would be like really preparing for like a fun time of playing tunes and being present, trying to serve the music, to be able to hear stuff and get fluent in this kind of language that you're playing, and to be able to deliver is so satisfying. Of course, everyone's got limitations. I have many limitations. I just have to be aware of those when I'm working on tunes, and I'm just asking, like, what can I hear? What can I do? How much musical information and how much of the vibe of the song can I be a vessel for? Usually I recommend to hold the first note with a pretty high importance when it comes to ear training. It often is the key. It's not always the key, of course. The melody, the harmony, everything kind of comes together and points to usually an unambiguous key center. The reason I say that is because usually songs that are successful and catchy and accessible are in an unambiguous key center. They're not floating around. There are definitely exceptions to that. Some tunes can be vague enough to work in a couple different keys to where people hear them differently. There are famous examples of tunes like Clocks by Coldplay is an interesting chord progression, and you could think of it in 2 different keys, or Sweet Home Alabama, but it's all about recognizing and not really arguing what key something is in, but just recognizing it, right? Recognizing, oh yeah, I can find these sounds. Like I have a mental map and an emotional map of these sounds to get clearer and clearer at what I'm hearing, right? And to learn more and more about getting fluent. How do we get fluent? I hear some new sounds that I like. Can I study that? There's a song that I love. What's going on? What key is it in? Can I figure out the chords, right? It's that kind of stuff. Insofar as you want to do it. This is really a tradition, right, of musicians that have done this a long time. Learn by ear, pass stuff down by ear, and develop a language by ear. My last one is the Traveling Symphony. And this is a piano uplifting strings, like a classical thing. Just to show you how diverse this is. Minor, right? You feel the minor. Or that feels like flat 6, flat 7, 1. Or you can think of it as 4, 5, 6, right? 4. So this felt really, really dissonant, right? And then this felt friendly to me in this key. Let's listen a little bit here. Try to listen for like the phrase. You see how it's going here? Going away now. The plot chord 4, 5, 6. Coming back home to this kind of like resigned, going out. This is probably very repetitive. Here's another one. This tune called Bluegrass, Mellow. Thought we'd do one more acoustic tune. I have a soft spot in my heart for acoustic music. So now this is an example where, because of the melody I hear at the very beginning, I hear not the first chord is not 1. So let's figure out what key this is in. I'm kind of listening when I listen to this. If I can, and then I'm listening. Just listening, trying to find unison pitch, trying to get it in my head, audiation, and then also getting out of my voice. I can use a guitar here too, kind of sing through your guitar. So that sounds very close to this key. That sounds really close. Feel that one, and that also was the 1 chord there. So now let's go back through. If we're in F sharp, I would definitely not play this in F sharp. It's a terrible key for guitar. You could do E capo 2, D capo 4, C capo 6. I've got a video on capoing I'll link below as well. And I use that information obviously here to help me out. So now if I'm in the key of E, I'm still thinking of numbers and feeling numbers. And it doesn't start on 1, remember. I think it starts on the 4. But I know it starts on the 4. So we have 4, 1, 5. And then for that minor 6, that's a 4, 1, 5. And then we have this. The difference. Let's check that out here. You feel that kind of take us out, and then that goes back to the 6. So often this is the next level of harmony study when you know diatonic chords really well and you can hear them. Then getting into some of the other chords. That was kind of a 5. It might have been minor. I think it was major. I heard major, but 5 of 6, meaning it's a major 3 chord. 3, right? We know that sound. Often goes to 4. That can go minor 4. Right, but here I think that 3 is taking us to the 6th chord. It's right there. Listen to the bass. Hear the bass there. Feel that resolution. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. 5, Star Wars. It's just scale, right? There's a 6. Oh, and the way this guitar is playing, I can tell it's down-tuned and playing in G. Do you hear that? Do you hear that sounds like an E minor down-tuned? Listen. You feel that? So they're doing this movement in G. If you downtune it, you get that nice, rich sound. And that's really good to see. If I'm thinking in the key of D capo 4, I could still play along with this. It's not a capoing video, but good to see. 5, 6, 4, 1, 5. Almost sounds minor on that, but it's 5. That's a 1. Now we just got a repetition. And I might put on a chart 4, 1. If I'm feeling the beats like this, I would underline those for 2 beats each. 5, 6. And using numbers, I can play it in any key. And I'm really getting at the heart of the sound, the map of the sound, if that makes sense. And I'm letting my left brain, who's studied these things, provide the details that I need to play it in the key of D or the key of C, E, and then also you can play it in G. That's kind of how I think it's actually being played downtuned. I'm going to wrap up today, but I hope this has been helpful showing you this process. This is exactly what I do when I need to learn tunes and learn them quickly. I just trust my ear. I make charts. I listen to the emotions I feel, the states I recognize by certain chord progressions, by certain harmonies, the colors of chords. I just take it all in. It might as well be in the same key, right? Like it doesn't even matter. We're just trying to feel what's going on here. If you're a beginner, I would recommend heavily to focus on one key while you do this. You can use some songs of which you know the key by just researching, songs in the key of G or whatever, and then use the main chords in G, G, C, D, E minor, to find out the chords. And there might be more chords, but start with simple songs. Try to get songs that have 3 or 4 chords in them, and start to train your intuition here. Like, don't be afraid of being wrong. With enough trial and error, you can start to feel what I'm pointing at here and feel this process. And before you know it, you're speaking more fluently. This gets so subconscious, so baked in to how you do music all the time. This is how people can converse as musicians, to not be up in their heads and actually be available for music making and for understanding music that you hear. To be like, yeah, I feel this key. I feel the one chord. I feel what kind of style we're in. I feel the different landmarks of the key. I feel the kind of harmony. If it's real simple harmony, real complex, what vibe, what style, what genre. If you do the study and the acquisition needed, even with just 3 or 4 chords at the beginning, that's where it starts for everyone. Then you'll be amazed at your ability to actually become fluent, because you'll be available to be fluent. You'll be available to have these intuitions start snowballing and working for you, and you'll feel the benefit. You'll be able to learn songs by ear. You'll be able to feel the courage to do that and not be afraid to be wrong. You'll just be more curious than wrong. Please like and subscribe if this has been helpful. It definitely helps my channel out. I just do this as a labor of love. I will be back next week with another video. I will have more ear training videos come out soon, some quiz style videos, and some other videos describing a little bit more deeper levels after you get diatonic chords down. If you have questions or would like to share anything in the comments about your ear training journey, I always love chatting with people and learning what works for others, because I'm only me and I have worked on this a long time and helped a lot of students, but everyone hears things differently, and I always have something to learn as a teacher on this whole process as well. So until next time, thanks.